Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Eva Keane. I'm the Customer Marketing Specialist here at VisibleThread. I'm joined today by Kyle Peterson, VP of Customer Success. Kyle is going to go through how to create, edit and use dictionaries in VT Docs. In this first webinar, in our series of training webinars, we'll be covering key features within our products to help you get the most value from them. All slides and recordings will be emailed out after the webinar. Please feel free to ask us any questions in the question box, and you can engage with us also in the attendee chat. We'll get back to any questions at the end. So before we begin today's webinar, I just want to draw your attention to some recent content we believe you'll get value from. Our latest blog, written by our CEO, Fergal McGovern, talks about AI, ChatGPT, and all things LLM from a VisibleThread perspective. A hot topic at the moment, so definitely worth a read. Our latest guide then, from silos to synergy, talks about maximizing success through collaboration. This guide contains lots of tips and key takeaways from discussions with industry professionals at Optimize 23, which happened earlier this year. And then we have our latest case study, which has just been released. It's a great story about a VT writer use case based by Services Australia. And it helped in the development of their new website. They were tasked with delivering accessible historical content to a reading grade level of between 7 and 9, and were able to do so with VisibleThread. You'll be able to access these resources now from the related free content tab on the webinar console. So finally, another great resource we are delighted to share is VT University, and some of you may already be familiar with it. It's our free online learning platform with courses that provide you with step-by-step guidance to master our platform in no time. Currently, we have 2 VT Docs courses and 7 skill building modules. Our VT Writer course will be available in July. After you complete our courses, you will also get a certificate at the end. So what I'll do now is I'll hand you over to Kyle, who will start by going through 3 ways to create a dictionary.
Great, thanks, Aoife. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time, of course. I'm hugely passionate about dictionaries, so couldn't be happier to have you here. A few quick housekeeping notes. Those on the line and even those who aren't here but registered, you will receive these slides. You will receive the recording of this session, so no worries there. And then please do use that Q&A feature. Dictionaries are great. They're all about your own context, though, your own language. So please do use that Q&A feature. We'll get through as many of those at the end as we can. So diving in here, there's a couple ways you can use, create, edit, and deploy dictionaries within VisibleThread. So before we talk about how to actually create one, I'm just going to remind new or kind of existing users what those are. So I am going to share my screen. Okay, so we should be seeing VisibleThread here. And I'm going to take you guys through a few quick examples. What are dictionaries? What do they look like in action? So in this case, I've got a PWS here from the EC2. It's an Air Force cyber program here. Just a PWS. It could be an entire RFP. The possibilities are endless. And in this case, I'm asking VisibleThread. This is my simple dictionary here. Show me shall. Show me requirements term. Show me will, include, and must. Let's do it. So I'm just going to run a quick shred. This is just customizing your Excel output, but essentially a dictionary is a tailored list of search terms, keywords. What do you want to find wherever they're hiding in a document? What's keeping you up at night? So this is your output here. This is the table of contents, but as we get into the body of the PWS, we're seeing those search terms highlighted in red: will, require, shall, so on and so forth. You're not losing the surrounding context, but we just want to make sure we can track those important kind of requirements type language. So that's one way to do it. Let's look at another example. Same document, different set of search terms, different use case. This is more of a compliance focused analysis. I'm looking for cyber, classified, top secret. I don't want the DOJ kicking my door in. We have to find those wherever they're hiding in a document. And we can also group them into what we call categories. I have my security search terms here. I have my intellectual property and kind of technical data search terms here, so on and so forth. So in this case, I'm going to create a responsibility matrix. Let's generate it. And while that's running, one quick reminder for the group, I am never going to advocate or tell people or think that we shouldn't be reading documents and understanding requirements. But dictionaries are great lifesavers in terms of I don't want to miss things. There is human error. It might be 7 o'clock at night. Where am I seeing cyber? Where am I seeing top secret? And this is just a slightly different output where we're using the dictionary categories to cross-reference paragraphs against respective owners or risk buckets. So cyber is getting flagged in the security column, so on and so forth. This is a kind of a powerful example when I'm working with multifunctional teams. If you're reviewing big, bad RFPs or requirements docs and you want to send it over to your security team, instead of sending them 200 pages of content and saying, hey guys, are there any red flags? You could just send them this in theory. Here you go, security team. We want to make it easier on people. We don't want to miss. Excellent. 2 more examples and we'll talk about how to create these. But like I said, I just want to make sure that we're being reminded of what these look like in action. This is an example that I don't think is utilized to the extent that it should be. If you upload a Microsoft Word document into VisibleThread, and this is a master services agreement, so if I have any contracts managers on the line, legal on the line, redlining can be pretty painful and tedious. It's time consuming. So the point is, I don't only want to find the word indemnity, we can also use dictionaries to call out action. What do I have to do when I come across it? They can become very action-oriented very quickly. So what can that look like in this contractual example? We're going to provide back to you the Word document just as it appeared, but we're going to use the Microsoft Word comment bubble feature to call out those terms, and then we'll provide that guidance that we saw. So here's an indemnification. We've flagged it, and this is our corporate stance on it. So we're still reading the contract. We're still redlining, but this is teeing me up. I don't have to cross-reference my red lines against, an internal playbook. What can we accept? What can't we accept? Now I'm kind of teed up. I see the indemnification. I can read it. I can understand, and I can respond in kind. Excellent. Insurance, another great one. Could just be as simple as, hey, have the corporate risk group take a look. What can we provide? What can't we? So on and so forth. And now this is just looking at indemnity and insurance obligations. Imagine dropping in words like liabilities, damages. Like I said, things that keep us up at night. Final example. I'm actually going to jump down to a different folder. So what we were just seeing earlier was kind of one document being analyzed. Concept tracking here is a great way to look at a range of documents all at once. These are all RFQs, RFPs, SOWs, PWSs. And in this example, I want to look at them against a list of my core competencies if I was an IT services firm, for the sake of argument. So this is the dictionary I'm using in this case. I'm looking for AI, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and against all of my core capabilities, cyber, data management, so on and so forth. But the point is, I don't want to have to look at each document one at a time, one idea at a time. Let's let dictionaries do that hard work for us, and we can start to grapple with what this is telling us. Where do we need to resource this? Where do we need to team? Where do we need to subcontract? This density, this heat map can be very powerful. Okay. So I hope everyone is now fully imbibed in terms of kind of what dictionaries are. And they're just lists of keywords that you care about. Where are they and how many times? And what do we do when we come across them? So let's talk about how you actually create them. And while I'm doing this, quick shout out, if anyone on the line has already created or tailored a dictionary, really well done. My best, most engaged users do that. I don't need you to create dictionaries once a week, but as long as you have put thought and time into a dictionary, really powerful, you're getting the most out of the solution. So you can move into your dictionaries library here. We're seeing quality and concept dictionaries. It's the same concept, the same mechanics. It's just where they can be applied. So I'm just going to create a quality dictionary here. I'm going to call it webinar test. So within VisibleThread, we can create, and we need a category. Like I said, those buckets of terms. And maybe this would be contractual requirements would be my category for the sake of argument. And so within this category, I can start dropping in new terms. Previously, new term was grayed out. I've got a category. Now I can click that. And this is what you are searching for. VisibleThread, show me shall. Show me must. And then let's use this match words beginning with box. This is really powerful for words that have a lot of different kind of granular variations. Instead of having to do require, required, requirement, requirements, so on and so forth, if I just click that, VisibleThread will show me any word beginning with require. So it's a nice quality of life feature. Let's be efficient here. Let's drop in a new category to make my last point here. I'm going to call this risky terms would be my category. I'm going to drop in a term, but I want to leverage this description box. What do we do when we come across a term? So, earlier I used an indemnity. Maybe it's a performance bond. Kyle Peterson Corp. only accepts bonds up to, just to throw a number out, $1 million for the sake of argument. The point is, wherever we see performance bond, that guidance will appear for us. Okay, and then we click save. And now this dictionary is ready to be leveraged against one or more documents. So coming up here, this was that previous simple dictionary that I used. Let's just use a different dictionary. And I called it webinar test. And I have a lot of dictionaries. I don't expect people to have this many. So I'm just setting this new set of search terms that I just created against the document. So doing this within VisibleThread is absolutely valid. I generally recommend that for fewer terms. If we want to talk about, larger dictionaries, let's talk about how we can do this within Excel. So let's grab that export IP security dictionary that I was using earlier. And instead of having to drop in, 23 terms one at a time, we can do this within Excel. So you can either open up a blank Excel document and start from scratch, or you can leverage existing dictionaries within your platform. And if you simply right click, go to export, export to text file, this is a dictionary and kind of its natural habitat, so to speak. It's a 3-column spreadsheet. That's all it is. So column B, that's the search term itself. VisibleThread, show me EAR, show me ITAR. Column A is the category, the grouping of terms. All of these are export terms. And thus, export is lined up to each search term. And finally, column C here, that's that guidance. And it is optional. You don't have to have guidance here. But what do we do when we come across foreign national? What do we do when we come across DSP-5? If I have any trade compliance people in the house, this can be a little bit opaque at the best of times. We can leverage institutional knowledge, put it into a dictionary to help you review documents more quickly and with greater compliance. So this is of course an existing dictionary, but why I like Excel when you can really start getting into just deeper, faster kind of data inputs. So you can copy and paste. Maybe we're looking for FAR clauses. I was a former contracts manager, so I won't torture you guys with the FAR for too much, but this involves classified material, term, whether effort, use of classified material, to security team, something like that. And then, we're off and running. And then we can just drag that down. Same idea, with defars. Like I said, great to copy and paste, great to make wholesale changes where you don't have to click new term, new category every time. You would save this copy, or if it was a brand new, from scratch copy, you would save it and you'd go back into VisibleThread, and you could either update an existing dictionary by clicking import terms from text file here. Or why don't we do that? Let me save this dictionary just to show you guys what that would look like. Always make sure the dictionary is in CSV format, but don't worry, VisibleThread reminds you of that. Okay. And so in this case, I want to keep this dictionary as is. I don't want to change it. So I'm just going to create a new one really quickly. I just go up here, create quality dictionary, webinar test v2. You have a blank dictionary. I'm going to import terms from text file. And you just browse to where you saved that. And you import. And now, like I said, instead of clicking new term 23 times, all of those terms are uploaded all at once. And we're off and running. Okay. So we can do it within VisibleThread. We can do it with Excel and then do a mass upload into VisibleThread. Your fun fact of the day is a dictionary can have 2,000 search terms. That is your logical limit. So a lot of horsepower there. Finally, you can also create a dictionary using our Discovery tab. So let's take a look at that. So in this folder, I have a RFI for police worn body cameras, and I've dropped in the public responses to that RFI. Now, I'm going to remove those from the consideration for right now, but I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I want to use my RFI in this case to be the source of my dictionary keywords. I'm looking for key customer language, key customer terminology that in this example, I want to work in to my proposal response. And I want to more quickly be able to identify, am I using that language? Am I reinforcing it, reincorporating it? And I don't want to have to drop in or, control find my way through an RFI and just drop terms into a dictionary. Why don't we let Discovery help us do the work? So this is my RFI. These themes here on the left, these are automatically identified. This is VisibleThread saying, hey, Kyle, I'm seeing video 122 times in the RFI. But better yet, I'll show you every single granular variation of video. And this is verbatim from the RFI itself. So when I'm selecting these keywords, and in this example, I'm just going to use frequency as a rough proxy for importance, we can see, okay, yep, this is how video recordings is being used in the RFI. This is my customer language. Let's take a look at evidence, derivative evidence. That's a very interesting qualifier. Used 12 times. For a police worn body camera example, of course, evidence is important. I don't know if I would have picked up on derivative evidence if I'm reading this at 7 o'clock at night, God forbid, with a response due in a week. So we can keep going. I'll do one more example here. Camera, of course, makes sense, but camera system, camera component, so on and so forth. So you can let these themes kind of guide you on the left. You can also do a directed search here. Hey, VisibleThread, do we see, when I'm thinking about recordings and video, how is data being referred to? And we can see here, data storage. And we're seeing every single iteration of data. And I can grab one or more of those ideas. Okay. So I went from a bunch of themes. These are the ones I selected here. This is key customer terminology that I want to incorporate into my proposal. All I do is click Save as View here once I'm satisfied with this list of keywords. I click Save as View. Now that you've saved that view, you see here a dictionary icon. If you select that, you can create a dictionary, and you can create a concept or a quality dictionary. And they're easily cloned, so don't get too hung up on which one do I do. I'm going to create a concept dictionary, and let's go and let's take a look at that dictionary. So instead of creating a dictionary here in the dictionary library, instead of going through Excel and kind of going from the RFI into Excel back and forth, I helped Discovery, or Discovery helped me call out these keywords. We're grouping them, and now they're ready to be deployed. I'm going to bring this example full circle, and I work with a lot of user groups who are doing this. If you're in the proposal space, the capture space, the BD space, great example of now I'm at that same folder level view. I just took one step over into my concept tracking view where we're still looking. So here's my RFI. These are my responses. Now I'm going to use a different dictionary, the one that I just created. And now these are, all of the competitor responses, but imagine these were your various volumes. Lining our management volume up against our technical volume, against our cost volume, lined up against an RFP for the sake of argument. But we can look for alignment and misalignment. If my customer is mentioning derivative evidence 12 times, why aren't I? Video recordings is kind of an interesting example too. We're hitting the word video. Only really 2 responses are touching on it. If I'm dealing with police-worn body cameras, that seems to be an important theme. So the point is, we can use this dictionary to find these gaps before we submit the proposal. And we can use this to tee up our reviewers, our editors, our writers, as opposed to, reading through a proposal and having to kind of confirm, maybe using separate sets of notes, gut instinct. Are we using key terminology or not? It's a great way to use dictionaries. Now, you also don't even need to use customer documentation to do this. If you have internal documentation, if your capture team has provided, proposal managers with discriminators to hit on, you could drop those into a dictionary and do the same kind of analysis. And then if you say, okay, this is a troubling gap that I want to investigate, and this is a gap, we can use that. You get a quick little preview here, but you can actually export this and send this to your writers, to your reviewers. So we want to tee them up with what do we need them to kind of take a look at and fix. Cool. Hey writers, this is how the RFI is speaking to video recordings and derivative evidence. Do we need to drop in some content here? Excellent. Okay. One more thing I wanted to touch on that I missed earlier. Just quick reminder. You saw that, match words beginning with checkbox within VisibleThread. If you wanted to denote that within your Excel list, it's just simply an asterisk. I haven't categorized every single FAR. I don't want to have to list every single FAR. My search term is 52 asterisk. That's my catch-all. Just a quick example. That's what it looks like here. Cool. Just didn't want to forget that. Okay, that's a lot of good information. Aoife, how are we doing on questions right now?
Yeah, we had one come in there asking, can dictionaries be shared within an organization?
Excellent, excellent question. I will share my screen again to make my point, but the question or the answer is an emphatic yes. To answer the question there, all dictionaries that are created within a workspace can be utilized by everyone who is in that workspace. So let me quickly show you kind of my environment. So these are all the users who are in my workspace. They have access to all of these dictionaries here. So when I created that example down here, Aoife, if you wanted to use it later, you can deploy it. So the bottom line is I don't need every single person creating their own individual dictionaries. You can benefit from the hard work of your colleagues. So really the only natural separation is if you have, and this is generally for larger kind of enterprise deployments, if you have a variety of workspaces where maybe, you know, my business unit sector A users are separate from my business unit sector B users, they can't see the dictionaries of their compatriots there. But I always recommend to people, you know, you can always export. Let's see. You can always export a dictionary here and just email it as well if you don't share the same workspace. And that way people continue to benefit internally. They just need to upload it into their environment. So hopefully that answers the question. Good question. And that's important for consistency, right? Especially when we're looking for risky language, when we're looking for FARs. What do we need to do with it? We want people to be able to have access to those dictionaries. Excellent. Just while I'm on a roll there on that topic, I also get questions a lot. Well, you know, Kyle, what if I want to make a change to a dictionary for kind of a one-off example, and I don't want to change the dictionary forever, right? For posterity's sake. A couple ways you can do that. You can just create a wholesale new dictionary, or right click. I want to take this, I want to tweak this dictionary. And this is a FAR dictionary. If I right click and I click clone, yep, I'm going to keep it as a quality dictionary. Instead of copy of, you know, I'm just going to call it B2 for the sake of argument. And there we can make our change, and we haven't permanently altered the original version. So it's essentially a save as. So the clone features a nice quality of life for if you want to make kind of one-off changes. Okay, I'm actually going to just quickly, actually it looks like questions are flying in now. If I'm wondering if we just kind of answer a few of these before I pivot. Would you agree?
Sure, yeah, why not?
Let's do it.
There's one there about, can dictionaries be exported, printed for review by others who don't have VTDocs access?
Yeah, so what you would do there, Dennis, is you would simply export a dictionary. So I'm a user and Aoife isn't in this example, and I want to share it with her. Maybe I need her input. Hey, Aoife, I'm looking at, and Aoife, you're going to be a contracts manager in this example.
Okay.
Do we have everything, right? Are we missing anything? What would you drop in? I would simply export the dictionary, and now I'm in Excel. I'm outside of VisibleThread.
Sorry, Kyle, are you showing something, or are you just talking?
I'm sorry. Thank you. Nope. That's the danger of, I like to kind of stop sharing and reshare sometimes to bring me back in focus, but sometimes I go off down the garden path and leave you guys behind. So good call out there, Aoife. Let me take one step back. Yeah, so just to reiterate what I was just saying there, Dennis, what you would do as a user, you would simply export an existing dictionary. And you get, and this is Excel. I'm outside of VisibleThread now. And so now you can save this into a SharePoint location. You can email it. You can share it with non-users. You can solicit their feedback. They can make their changes. You know, maybe I'm just going to change the category. Maybe I want to drop in guidance here, guidance example, so on and so forth. Aoife would then send that copy back to me, and then you as the user would re-upload it. So that's where the Excel export is really powerful if you need to share it with a non-user who doesn't have access to the platform. Good question. I actually saw I think I saw a question from Sally. Sally, great to see you. You used to click to reduce a summary with X's and could not see you're able to reduce that. Oh, sure. Happy to. So Sally, what you can do, oh, I'm not sharing again, but I caught myself this time. So yeah, so Sally, in this example, when I'm cross-referencing my dictionary hits against, risk areas or functional reviewers, I really like to drop in a filter. So let me just remove the filter here. So what you can do is, this is the document verbatim. We have X's, we have areas without X's. If I'm a member of the security team, or I want to drill down to sections that matter to that team, I'm going to click right there. I'm going to go to data. I'm going to click filter. And I click that little kind of downwards triangle. I'm going to filter out my blanks. Just show me paragraphs with X's. And now I'm only seeing my security type terms. This is particularly powerful for very large documents. And, the fun doesn't stop there, right? I mean, you can search by category here, search even by search term here. Maybe I only want to look at, sure. There we go. We can drill right down to it. Good question. Where I've seen these categories become very powerful too is when we're thinking about, cross-functional reviews of requirements. My program team care about certain keywords, my subcontracts. Maybe I'm thinking about, I work with a lot of solutions teams who group requirements by, these are solutions or deliverables that Kyle Peterson Corp can deliver. These are sections where I think it needs to be subcontracted out. Maybe we need a teaming partner, and we can get creative with categories. So this would be Kyle Peterson. This would be subcontractor. So you can spell it A, B, so on and so forth. Okay, so I probably went a little too far down, but that should have answered the question, Sally. Good question.
What is the difference between a quality dictionary and a concept?
Oh, sure. Good question. I have an immediate question and I have a future focused question. So currently, everyone, this distinction between quality and concept, that distinction will be going away in our next product update. And remind me, Aoife, at the end, we have some really cool dictionary updates that are coming down the pike. The only difference between a quality dictionary and a concept dictionary is where they can be deployed. So in this folder here. So quality dictionaries, I can use those in my quality analysis tab, where we're creating those matrices that we saw earlier. Concept dictionaries can be used in concept tracking. And the reason that distinction was in place was just to limit the amount of dictionaries you'd want to apply in a specific area. And generally use cases are different, but ultimately the mechanics of a dictionary don't change, whether it's a quality or a concept dictionary. I have categories, I have search terms. This is a quality dictionary. If I go to concept, what example do I want to use? I have categories, I have keywords. No difference between the two. It's just where they can be deployed. And if you want to, if I want to take this concept dictionary and I want to have it available to me in my quality analysis area, I don't have to recreate another quality dictionary. I can just once again clone it. Right click, clone. It's currently a concept. I want to make it a quality dictionary. We default to copy of. I like to get rid of that, and you click OK. So pretty simple distinction, but it's a common question, so thanks for asking. Good question. Oh, actually, Deanna, that is absolutely a fair question that I get a lot as well. So the question is, this is from my example earlier. Let me jump back into my example here. So, Kyle, what's the difference between the compliance matrix and the responsibility matrix? A subtle but important difference. So, this was my compliance matrix that I ran earlier. This is the entire PWS verbatim here. My keywords are called out. But other than calling out the category, the term, and the description here, if there's one available, this is all blank over here. So, now I can do my analysis, risky, owner, so on and so forth. And I can go through, I can drop in my thoughts, all that good stuff. If you were to run the responsibility matrix, which I also ran earlier, let me bring that up. This is all exactly the same. We just saw this in the compliance matrix. The key difference, the responsibility matrix, those categories are lined up here along the top, and we're cross-referencing those hits. So it's just, do you want this cross-referencing? Responsibility matrices are more powerful when we're dealing with more categories. So let me actually run a quick example. And for those who know me well, they're like, oh, here goes Kyle again with his FAR example, but it's a good one. I have 6 categories. And in this case, my categories are action-oriented. What must I review? What might need to be flown down? Classic responsibility matrix use case. Where I want that cross-referencing, I want to be able to group those actions over here to kind of drive what I need to do. So let's actually just drop in a filter here. Let's go to my must review security. Or actually, let's just jump down here. So great example. Here are my FAR clauses. What needs to happen? In this case, no review needed. Happy days. I can filter these out if I wanted to, where you would not get this ability with the compliance matrix feature. So it's all about categories and this cross-referencing here. This one's a flow down. Excellent. So on and so forth. Where, just to make my last point, and maybe I'm belaboring it, but if I were just to create a compliance matrix, let's just do that to show you the difference. Still the same content, still the same list of search terms. But you don't get that cross-referencing here. You have to rely on your category. What's my must review? What's my no review needed? So this is not as optimal as an example, in my opinion. So that's the only difference. Cross-referencing here with those X's. Cool. Good question. Might even work in a couple customer stories here too. A user I was working with the other day, really actually interesting use case, is he created a dictionary using kind of internal policy and process documents for quality audits. So he took his internal documentation and created dictionaries from it, pulling out kind of key process terms, all that good stuff. And they were able to then vet, our new year. So every year those processes are updated. They actually were analyzing and shredding the new versions against kind of older docs and examples. So really, really interesting. I'm actually working with a user group right now. They're in more of the manufacturing space. And so it's a quality dictionary. We're looking for quality codes and requirements, non-destructive testing. Do we need certain ISO certifications? AS9100 for those of us in the room from the aerospace space. I work with one user group. Every single purchase order, that they're more of kind of a OEM parts supplier. Every single purchase order that comes through the door, they run it and they're looking for, do we need certain certificates of conformance? What kind of paperwork needs to go out with our product? And if it doesn't go out, the product's going to get returned to us. And so that's not so much of a length argument or problem. Purchase orders are generally pretty short, a couple pages, but it's a volume and a scale issue. They go through 2,000 purchase orders a year. I don't want to have to do that check 2,000 times. Let's just run it, shred it. And then finally, and I was a former contracts manager, so I can't help myself, even something as simple, if we go back to one of my shreds here, we time and date stamp it. So they actually work this into their process. To go back to that kind of audit example, this is a repeatable process, time and date stamped. We even know that Kyle Peterson did it. And they use this to meet audit requirements for consistency, repeatability, etc. So just kind of a few things I think to chew on there. I'm just doing a quick scan. If it looks like we're doing okay on dictionaries. Let me do this. Just a couple slides that, once again, everyone will have access to, just so if you're like, Kyle, this is great, but I might not remember this 2 months from now. What we did was just a couple screenshots just to help remind you of your bearings. You can create a dictionary within the VisibleThread docs environment. Quick screenshot showing you what that looks like. Using Excel, like we saw earlier, our 3-column format, and then just do that mass import once you're back in VisibleThread. Using Discovery, like we saw earlier, grab those themes you care about. And then finally, just a few reminders on what that output will look like. Cool, Kyle, dictionaries are great. What do they do for me? Just quick reminder. Maybe I'm looking for every single instance of cybersecurity, classification, and security in a PWS or a DD254, or pick your poison. That's what they look like here. There's that responsibility matrix output, Deanna. So I generally anticipate that question. Quick, the only difference there is those columns, H through K. But once again, that's dependent on the number of categories. You'll have more columns as you add categories. And then that redlining example. And I was a formerly tortured contracts manager. I still would read through contracts, all that good stuff. I generally knew what kept me up at night, what I need to redline. But this is just a great way to take some of the tedium out of that. And just don't want to miss it. If I've got 3 or 4 contracts going at a time, use this to help me, keep me sane. What do I need to do with it? Can't miss. Once again, consistency. Maybe you have new joiners, new teammates that aren't quite as imbued in company or corporate policy. Great way for dictionaries to do it. And you can get word outputs as well. I actually work with one user. It was funny when I was first working with him. He said, Kyle, as you could see, we have a lot of Excel outputs. Kyle, I don't like Excel. I don't work in Excel. My outputs are not in Excel. Great, no problem. I'm assuming you like to work in Word, right? Absolutely. Okay. Upload a Word document and you can still shred the Word document, but this would be the output that you get. So always more than one road to Rome in VisibleThread. So same concept, just different output. Cool. And then concept tracking. We talked about, vetting opportunities against core capabilities, but you can also use this to, once again, bump up your response against an RFP. Are we incorporating key customer language, win themes, discriminators? Great way to help you make that analysis, make those decisions before it goes out the door. I work with a lot of users doing that. I have a lot of users actually who do this for past performance analysis. I have 25 old SALs and PWSs, and I'm looking for specific types of deliverables or work I've done in the past. I don't want to look at one document at a time, one idea at a time. That's a dictionary, that's a concept or discovery example all day long. And we can then pull that information out, use it, cite it, so on and so forth. Cool. Okay. And actually, I do want to touch on, Aoife, I'll just jump ahead here if you don't mind. So we will be providing all kinds of good, useful video links here. Once again, just to remind you, hey, what did you see here today? We want to make sure these sessions are educational. So that's all available to people. What did we touch on here today? Hopefully that's all clear. As you can probably tell, I'm a talker. I like to provide a lot of information. Hopefully this was just the right kind of bite-sized chunk. And then please do, coming out of this, if you have other questions, if you want to explore, hey, Kyle, can we do X, Y, and Z? Please do. If you don't know your customer success manager, if you don't, if you wouldn't know one, you can book a meeting with one of my team, me or one of my team right here. Bring those examples. We like to be stumped. So we are here to help. That's why my team is here. And then once again, please do VT University, great way to build upon your skills here. And we have an entire module on dictionary creation. Excellent. So Aoife, before I'll let you kind of touch on that one, I do want to just mention, I alluded to it earlier, we're currently working on a big product update right now. I won't give you a firm date so my engineers don't get mad at me, but kind of right around fall, kind of college football season, will be on our next major product update. And we're going to actually bring even more horsepower to dictionaries beyond just verbatim word searches and show me words beginning with. We'll start to get into more pattern matching. Show me words beginning and ending with. Show me words or concepts that are listed in a specific format, word dash numeral dash word, so on and so forth. So really, really powerful. The product continues to improve. I'm terribly excited. So that's coming down the pike. Yes, VT University is open to everyone. You don't even need to be a user, actually. I want all my users to use it. It's available at no cost if you register at the link provided. All we need is your email address and you're off and running. Cool. Aoife, I think I will pass the baton back to you if that's okay. Sound good?
Sounds great. Yeah, so our next webinar will take place on July 11th. In this webinar, you will learn all about how to use Discovery in VT Docs. So Discovery is a powerful AI feature that uses natural language processing to gather key themes for documents. So it will be another 30-minute webinar, and we will show you how this feature helps you save time and ensure compliance with real-time examples. So if there are any other topics you would like us to cover in training webinars that we will be running over the next couple of months, do let us know. And thank you all today for attending and for being with us to learn all about dictionaries.
Thanks.